Hey, you alright? Welcome to another video. If you haven't been here before, I'm Cecilia Jo and this is my channel talking all things books. So today I thought I would do some recommendations. So I only got my Kindle. They're all going to be like Kindle unlimited recommendations, obviously, as you can tell from the title of it. But yeah, I only got my Kindle at Christmas, just gone. But last year all I pretty much read was Kindle books, just on the Kindle.
How many times can you say Kindle in a minute?
Just on the app on my iPhone. That's what I read all the books on. But now I have a proper Kindle, which I am very lucky and happy to have. So yeah, I thought I would just do some Kindle Unlimited book rec. Yeah, let's just get into it. Okay, so the first one is called Blindside by Candy Steiner. It is part of the Red Zone Rivals series. I think it's the first one in the series, but I'm not 100% sure. I think there's 4 in total. Anyway, Blindside. So it's like a sports romance, fake dating. So he's split up with his ex and wants to make her really jealous, and she has she's very introverted and isn't very good at speaking with men, and she has this major crush that she wants to go and speak to but doesn't have the courage to. So he says he'll help her sort of learn how to speak to men so she can go and speak to a crush. And you know, things happen, doesn't always go to plan, and it's not really a grumpy sunshine. I think if anything it would probably be reverse, but she's not really grumpy, she's just a bit awkward and innocent, I guess. And he's obviously this sports star that's very confident and wants to be very in your face type thing, but obviously behind all that bravado is a nice person. So yeah, it's just a very cute romance. If you like fake dating, obviously you'll like this. Sports romance, it's just a very cute, easy to read book. If you're in a bit of a book slump, maybe it might be a good one to do. And like I say, it's a series, but they're all standalones, but they have the is it called interconnected standalones. So you see a few of the other characters in here. You can kind of tell which ones are going to have their own books, you know, they're mentioned a few times. But yeah, that is Blindside by Candy Steiner. Okay, next up is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I absolutely loved this book. I am a bit of a sucker for a grumpy sunshine, and he's definitely a grump and she's definitely a sunshine. So it's like a small town romance where, you know, everyone knows each other, and she Naomi is like a runaway bride type thing, and she's run away to this small town, and he is like a big bearded grumpy man that likes to be alone and, you know, stuff like that. She has an evil twin that he mistakes her for, and that's how they end up meeting. So she ends up, her evil twin has a daughter that she ends up abandoning, and then Naomi takes care of the daughter, and he tries to help her with that reluctantly and through gritted teeth. And he thinks it'll help her out, it'll sort her out, and it'll get her to leave type thing. But obviously this is a romance, so that doesn't quite go to plan. But I guess it's enemies to lovers maybe. Definitely a grumpy sunshine, small town romance. It's very cute. I love Lucy Score's books. I really like her writing. I think they flow so well and they're so easy to read. And she has got another one just come out, or it came out last month, that's called Things We Hide from the Light, I think, which I haven't read yet, which I bought but I haven't read. Maybe I should have put that on my TBR for this month. But anyway, yeah, there's that one too, but I've not read that one yet. So there are 2 books in this series that I think they're standalones, I think, and maybe interconnected. I've honestly not got a clue, so don't quote me on that one. But yeah, this is Things We Never Got Over. It's quite a thick book if you buy the actual book, but like I say, it's really easy to read, so on Kindle it doesn't seem that big. But yeah, that is the second recommendation. Okay, next up we've got another Lucy Score one, which is called By a Thread. So this one is Ali and Dominic, and Dominic gets Ali fired from her job because there's another grumpy sunshine type one. He's just had enough of her and gets her fired from her waitressing job. And then his mum is actually the CEO of the business he works for, so she ends up hiring Ali, so they end up working together. So it's kind of forced proximity too, I guess. And his mum has said you're not allowed to fire her, no matter what, you're not allowed to fire her. So he's obviously fuming about it, and she's just no, you got me fired, now look, now I'm working for you type thing. And it's like Grumpy Sunshine, he's like billionaire boss type thing. I think the humour in it was really good in this book. I really liked it. I liked Ali as a character. She's kind of like take no shit, and he was just a big grump. I'm pretty sure there was quite good spice in this book. I just remember it being a really, like I say, Lucy Score's writing I really like. I think it's so easy to read, and it's like fast paced, you know. But yeah, it's like an enemies to lovers, I guess, forced proximity romance that's just, it's really good. I'd recommend it for sure. Okay, next up is actually a series by Sarah Kate. It's called The Salacious Players Club. So there's 4, I think there might be 5 now, but I've not read the 5th one. I've only read 4. I think it came out recently, but I'm not 100% sure, or it's due to come out soon, something like that. But I've only read the first 4 of them. But it basically follows 4 owners of a sex club and how they've like decided to start it together, and then each character's got their own book type thing. So the first one is called Praise, and it's like, so just a little disclaimer, all these books are very heavily smut based. They have really good like plots too, really good stories, but they are very heavily smut based. So like I say, the first one's called Praise, and it is like a sub-dom relationship. So he's trying to find a sub, and she ends up finding herself auditioning without even realising what she's auditioning for. But she is actually the ex-girlfriend of his son, if that makes sense. So it's a bit like, I guess, forbidden romance. There's a sub-dom. He's very much like besotted by her, and she's besotted by him. It's definitely an age gap one. Like I say, she's actually the ex-girlfriend of his son. I think he's called Emerson, but I can't think of what her name is. It's completely gone out of my mind what her name is. But yeah, so there's a big age gap. It's very like spicy. I absolutely loved it. I loved reading this series. I think it's so good. All the other characters are kind of introduced in this one, but then they all get their own book type thing. So yeah, that's the first one, Praise. And then the second one is called Eyes on Me. I didn't massively like this one. It's a step siblings one type, and I'm just not, I don't know, I just can't vibe with it. I find it all a little bit odd. So it's like, obviously step siblings, so it's like forbidden love, a bit of enemies to lovers, I guess, type vibe. It's that, like I say, it's heavily smut based again, but it wasn't my favourite in the series, but I guess kind of read it if you want to complete the whole series. But yeah, that one's called Eyes on Me. And then the next one is called Give Me More, which I really liked this one. So this is Hunter and his wife, I want to say Isabel, and their friend Drake. So Hunter and Isabel are married, and Drake's always been like the third wheel sort of best friend to them both. And then one day Hunter has asked Drake to sleep with his wife, and he's like, no, I can't, but really he's like in love with her and really wants to, but because they're best friends, he's like, no, I can't do that. So yeah, it just kind of follows that. It's like a secret love. It's MMF, which I really like reading. So yeah, it just kind of follows the 3 of them figuring out this relationship type thing. There's a really cool scene in it that's, I think it's called Shibari, where it's like the ropes and what's it called, like ribbons type thing to like hold people up in the sex club. But yeah, it's a really good book. I really enjoyed this one. So that's the 3rd one out of the series. And then the last one, which potentially could be my favourite, is called Mercy. So again, it's another sub-dom one, but the woman is the dom and the lad's the sub. And it's actually the lad of Emerson from the first book. It's his son. So the one that was the ex-boyfriend of Emerson's partner, it's him. It's called Beau. And he is like very against this Salacious Players Club. He thinks his dad's a bit of like a pervert for owning a sex club and things like that. And then he kind of does a test. He gets a bit curious about it. He does this test that they do at the beginning where it lets you know what your sort of kinks, not tropes, what your kinks potentially could be. And it turns out he's a sub and she's a dom looking for a sub. She's learning about it. She's a bit like introverted. I think she's called Maggie. Introverted and doesn't really, you know, is quite quiet, and then turns out she actually isn't so quiet. So it's just them 2 kind of like figuring it out. It's an age gap again, because like I say, he's the son and she is like one of Emerson's friends that owns the sex club with him. So yeah, it just follows them figuring it out. It's like quite cute, because even though it's like sexy and a lot of smut, they're like learning about themselves as they go along type things. And she's like wanting to be this like dom, but that's not really a personality, but when she allows herself to be, it is type thing. Yeah, I really loved it. Like I say, probably my favourite in the series, and that one's called Mercy. So that's the 4 of those. Salacious Players Club by Sarah Kate. Like I said, I think there's a 5th one, but I've not read that one yet, so I'm not sure. But yeah, there's 4 of those. If you can hear that music, that is my neighbour. And then the penultimate recommendation is called Faking with Benefits by Lily Gold. So this is a reverse harem, which I seem to read a lot of those last year. I read like an awful lot of them, but they tend to come in series as well. But this one's a standalone, there's only 1 book. But it follows Layla, who decides to go, so there's 3 men who have a podcast together, and she decides to go on the podcast where they're going to help her find love because she feels a bit like stuck and she wants love, and she thinks she's like undateable. But her 3 neighbours think, come on the podcast and we will help you out, we'll give you like advice and stuff like that, we'll be your practice boyfriends in exchange for her practicing, I guess, speaking to men is like a segment on the podcast, if that makes any sense. So it's like a friends to lovers, reverse harem, they're all neighbours. I think one of them might have been her teacher, if I'm remembering correctly, so there's a bit of an age gap there. But yeah, it's just it's really easy to read. It's like got a good humour in it. The smut's good because there's 3 men and 1 woman. Yeah, I just really love this book. I like Lily Gold's books. She has another 2, one called Nanny for the Neighbours, I think it's called, which is a similar book, but they end up with a baby on the doorstep and she helps them. And then there's one called The 3 Swedish Mountain Men, I think it's called, and she gets like stuck in a small town and these 3 Swedish mountain men, and they all fall in love and it's all happily ever after. So yeah, there's those. If you like a reverse harem, there is that one, Faking with Benefits by Lily Gold. And then last but not least, we've got Blindsided by Amy Dawes. So this is a plus size main female character, which I absolutely love. So it follows Freya, who is almost 30 years old and she's still a virgin, and she's kind of not panicking about it, but a bit like, oh, like I'm still a virgin at 30 type thing. So she decides to let her best friend Mac become kind of like her love coach, and helps her so she can find someone to sort of fall in love with and lose her virginity to. And then it gets to the point where it's not really working and she wants to lose her virginity to Mac because she feels safe with him and they're best friends, and she thinks it would be really comfortable and he won't judge her and stuff like that. So it's like a best friends to lovers plus size, which I absolutely love. It's called Blindsided by Amy Dawes. So that is the last one in my Kindle recommendations. I mean, I have loads more. I think I might do one just on reverse harems. I think I might do like smaller ones, like I say, reverse harems, do like a small town romance ones, do a fake dating, you know, the different tropes. Maybe I'll do a few of those recommendations. But yeah, that is it from me. That's the end of this video. If you did enjoy watching, please do subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, like I say, that is it from me. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in a bit.